Prep myself, prep myself, prep myself. Okay, look. Hair is up. Hair thing. In fact, I need to readjust. Readjust. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Looks like I'm wearing a funky shirt. These are one of those cold shoulder shirts, right? Anyway, drinking a little wine. Cheers. So, I was debating whether or not I wanted to do this, but it's a memory and I have to share it. And I have to make sure it's out there. So if ever I'm down and questioning myself, it's here. It's here for me. So, I received a text from my son today that, oh my God, that blew my mind. That just took every reassurance that I needed, any doubt that I had. I mean, granted, it's a work in progress, but it is something that I just couldn't explain. I read the text and I was at work. I read it this morning and I just started crying. And I had to go to the bathroom because I'm like, ugh. So, backstory first is I am a single mother of two. I lived in California when I was married and had kids. I didn't really have any family in California. So when the marriage wasn't going so well, I had to leave. We got divorced and I'm like, well, there's no family here for me, so I'm moving back to Texas. Now, I believe this was a stupid arrangement that we did, and I knew it wouldn't work, and I knew I was going to have my upper hand and my way. So that's kind of why I did it. But anyway, the kids were probably, I have two boys, and the kids were probably about 7 and 10 maybe 8, 7, 8. Anyway, somewhere around there. I moved to California. So our custody agreement was they were going to spend 2 years with me, then they're going to go back with their father, spend 2 years there, then they're going to come back with me for 2 years, and it was going to bounce back and forth like that. Now, you know that sounds ridiculous. I knew that sounded ridiculous, but I knew that was going to be over. So that's why I agreed, because I knew that it wasn't going to last. So what I did was he was going to have them for 2 years. So for 2 years, and I moved here to Texas. I got settled, made sure I had a job, and I would drive, not fly, but I would drive back and forth to see them anytime I could. If it was a long weekend, if it was a holiday, it was summer, it was Christmas, first day of school, I was driving back and forth to see them. And there's situations with their father that reasons why we got divorced. I don't want to spill too much of it out there, but there's reasons why we were divorced. And I was like, I just need him to go away, and I want to take my kids. So anyway, 2 years passed, I got them. That was it. They didn't go back. After 2 years, and then my end of the bargain was up, I had to get them back. But because of a history he had, he would not fight me on this. That is why I was able to do what I did. And yeah, some people would be like, that's messed up. I can't believe you did that. Just mind you, there are reasons behind it, okay? It's not like I forbid them to ever see their father. It's not like I wouldn't take them. In fact, when it was his time for, like, I finally said, okay, look, this isn't happening. They're in school here. They're settled. They're not going back. They will see you for the summer. So when summer came, I drove them at, like, the last day of school. I drove them up there. I drove back. And it's like a 24-hour drive, and I did it in one shot. I drove up there, dropped them off, and straight back. So, well, I lied. I stayed the night, then drove, because it was a 24-hour shot. And it was not fun. Don't ask me to do that now. But, and then end of summer, school was about to start. I drove over there, picked them up, and grabbed them back. That was the only time their dad saw them. He didn't see them for their birthdays. He didn't see them for Christmas. He didn't see them for first days of school. Like, I went out of my way to go over there. And I was nice too. Sometimes we flew them, and I paid for half, or like one child. He paid for the other child. And then it got to the point where, why am I doing that? He doesn't see them at all. I'm the one that's being nice doing this. If he wants to see his kids, he would fly over here and see them. He would take the time to come over here and say, I even told him, I'm like, look, I have a house, or then I had an apartment. I'm like, I have an apartment. The boys can shack up in one room. You can have the other. I mean, whatever. You have a place to stay. Never took me up on it. Didn't do anything. He's never paid me for child support, ever. So this is like, I'm like, why am I being nice? So at that point, I'm like, if you're going to fly them, you fly them. I'm not paying for it anymore. Okay? He eventually started doing that. But he would only see them for summer. That was it. And he would, gosh, I really don't want to make this ragging on him. But I feel like I have to explain this so you know my stance on why I did things that I did. But anyway, so I don't know, he just wouldn't see them. And there was one time my son had to stay in summer school. So he only got to see him, or he only flew over to see the kid. My son, after summer school, flew over there to see him for, like, I think maybe a month, and that was it. That was all he got, was a month. You would think he would be like, no, I got to see him more. I have to see him more. But he didn't. He didn't strive to see them. Anyway, on my end with them, I knew what kind of man he was. All right? When a man, in my opinion, just my opinion, when I'm working and he's working, but he gets fired because he's doing stupid shit, and then he tells me, well, I just want to be a stay-at-home dad anyway. No. One, to me, in my opinion, that's not a man. You, as a man, need to support your family, or at least be equal to that. I'm not going to support you so you can take care of our kids. No. A woman, I don't feel like that. Call me old school, call me whatever you want, but no, I don't want to do that. I want a man that's going to support me, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Or we could both be equal. So obviously we're having issues, and then for him to say that, I was just like, no, I know what kind of man you are, and no, just don't want it. So anyway, kids are here, and my oldest son, I knew, I felt it, like he didn't want to stay here in Texas with me. He wanted to stay with that family. And I understand that, because I feel like he feels, which I think is right, I pulled him away from his family. And I've told him that several times when he was younger. I'm like, I know you had that bond with them. And it wasn't just his dad that I had issues with. It was the family that I had issues with. It was 1 against 5 to me it felt like. It's like I could never do anything right. They were raising my kids because I was working, and I didn't like the way they were raising my kids, but yet I didn't have money to take them and put them in a daycare. So I was stuck. Like I said, my family wasn't there. I would have told my mom to raise them, but I didn't. Like, I'm not even kidding you. My kids were in Pampers until they were 5. You can say that's my fault. I tried to potty train them, but when I'm working full time and I was going to school, it's like they didn't want to potty train them, so it didn't work. And I'm telling you truthfully, one weekend, it was like, I think it was Memorial Weekend, I drove home to see my mom. And we stayed there for 3 days. And then we drove back. My mom had both of my kids potty trained in that weekend. They were doing great. As soon as I went back to California, lost it all because they didn't want to keep up with it. I'm probably saying more than I should, but again, I don't know. So anyway, I felt like I was taking my son away from his family that he knew. And I would tell him this, and he never felt like he was at home here. He hated Texas. If people asked him where he lived, he said California. And I'm like, you don't live in California. You live in Texas. No, I live in California. That's where my dad is. That's where grandma is. That's where, like, and I'm like, okay, I get it. But, like, he just adamant. He wanted to go back to California. He wanted to go back home. You know, he never considered this his home. And to me, I always been like, I felt bad because I didn't give him that strong father figure, that strong man figure in his life. He didn't have any of that. And I'm like, son, you can't. I told him sometimes, and I hated saying this to him because he doesn't need to know this, but I'm like, your dad is not a man. I don't see him raising you. I am doing the best I can. And I feel like I'm better, so much better at it than he would be. He lives at home with his mom. He has a kid from a 20-year-old that's half his age. He doesn't work. It's like he can't raise you right. It's like I don't see him supporting his family. I need you to learn to support yourself, to support your family. This is a man, his dad, who never left the house. He never did anything. It's like he was stuck to his mom's tit. He's like almost 50 and he's still stuck to his mom's tit. And it's just like, get away. Go support your family here, over here. But no, you're having your girlfriend work while you stay at home and take care of the child. Just like you wanted from me. No. Difference between that is I'm older, wiser, and I know what I want, and I'm like, F you, whereas she's still young. She hasn't hit that yet, but she will. So anyway, I'm like telling my son, I'm like, you can't. And he would always be mad, and like, yeah, that's my dad. And I'm like, I get it. And granted, their dad was great. Like, he would call them every day. I'm not even exaggerating. He would call them every day. Every day, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. In the morning, after school, and to say goodnight. He was sick, and I give him praise for that. But as you know, that's somebody who doesn't work, someone who doesn't have a life. Like, he's just waiting around to be, oh, it's almost time, gotta call him, huh? Because when my kids were over there for the summer, I was lucky I called them 5 times. And it's not because I'm like, oh, good, kids are gone, woo, summertime. No, it's because I had a life. I worked, I went over here, I did things. And I'm like, oh, I got to call my friend or my sons. Oh, see how they're doing. Okay, you know, and talk to them. So in 3 months, I talked to them like 5 times. I felt bad because I'm like, God, their dad calls them every day and I don't call them, you know. But I'm like, I have a life, you know. It's like they'll be back with me. I would text them and just to say hi, you know, and love you, thinking of you, whatever. But I wouldn't call them and talk to them, actually. So, anyway, like, a lot of things with my older son. He's just, at one time, he was being rebellious and I worked. He was sneaking out of the house and I'm like, son, you've already had the cops bring you home. I can't watch you 24/7. It's just me. And I don't want you getting into trouble. So your jail, in my mind, was sending you back home to your dad. Your dad doesn't work. He can watch you and make sure you come home right after school. He takes you to school because that's how protective he is. So he will walk you to school. My son was in the 9th, 10th grade, something like that, maybe 9th. Yes, he was going to the 9th grade. So he was able to do that. But after a year, I'm like, this boy is not doing anything. I was hoping his dad would teach him something and how to be responsible and how to not do stupid stuff, but he didn't. It was just like, he's here, I could take him home, take him to school, this is what we do. That's it. And I'm like, be something for him. Like I can't be that father figure for him. Do that for him. And he wasn't doing it. And so I was like, that's it. Summertime, come back. You're coming back home. And my son kicked and clawed and he hated it. He's like, I don't know why you brought me back. Da, da, da. But he mellowed out and, we stuck it out. And I was so proud of him. I didn't think he was going to graduate, but he did. And I already knew after graduation, because I told him, you're 18, you can do what you want. But you have to graduate first. And sure enough, he's like, I'm going back home. I want to move to California with my dad. I'm like, okay, there it is. I was expecting it, but I've got what I wanted out of you. I wanted you to graduate. I want you to go to college, but he's taking a year off. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to force you because that's now money you're going to have to spend. So anyway, he's off. And I would talk to him. What are you doing? Nothing. Well, I'm like, the reason I don't want you to go back to California is because your dad, like I said, his dad lives at home with mom. He still lives at home with mom. And I'm like, they will not push you to get a job. They won't push you to cook for yourself, clean up. They won't push you to go out and enjoy life. They're not going to push you to do that. They're going to coddle you and be like, whatever you want. No, they're not. I said, that's exactly what they're going to do. Before he even moved in, his dad used to live in a room in the garage. His dad moved out. They gave him the garage. I was hoping they'd just keep him in one of the bedrooms in the house, but they didn't. They made the room a garage or garage room, so whatever. There he was. 2 weeks after, no, not 2 weeks. I don't know. I think I called him and I was like, how are things going? Da 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 da. And I'm like, well, are you getting out? No, I'm staying here. I'm like, you're just staying there. Are you working? No, I'll work later. All right. Called him. I'm like, so do you go out into the living room, into the house? Well, I have a microwave. Did he say? I have a TV in my room, and I have a microwave, and I have a mini fridge. And I'm like, great. They just made you a mini apartment that you will never leave. That's exactly what they did. Now you have no motivation to get out of that house. It's like you're going to fall in it just like your dad did. I'm like, have you cooked? No, grandma's cooking. Exactly. So I'm just like, oh my God, exactly what I knew was going to happen and didn't want to. It is. And it's frustrating as hell. And I was just like, gosh, but there's nothing I can do. He's 18. All I can do is hope he'll learn and just shake it off. I'm like, okay, fine. Hope you enjoy life. Well, he ended up getting a job a couple of months ago. And I always told him when he was here, you get a job, you save money, you try to manage your bills, take one step at a time, try to pay your cell phone and just, like if you are here, you can help with groceries, you can have some sort of responsibility. You got to learn how to keep up with your money, put some in savings and this and that. And I was always telling him this. So when he got a job, I want to say it was us, Valentine's Day. He started his job Valentine's Day. And I was like, yay, you got a job. And he was excited. I was excited for him. And he's like, okay, Mom, first thing I'm going to do is I want to put some money aside. And then I'm going to pay my cell phone bill. I was like, all right, good for you. That's exactly what you should do, or save up some money and just, that's your money. You worked for it. You earned it. Go out and enjoy it. He's like, yeah, okay. And so I talked to him maybe a couple weeks ago. And he's like, Mom, I made my first payment on my bill. He's all excited. And I was like, God, it's great. Good, son. I'm glad you're doing it, And he's like, yeah. And he'll text me, Mom, I'm on my way to work. Love you. Da, 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 So anyway, that brings me to today. With all this that I just told you, and in my mind, I think it's going to make me cry. Try to get through this without crying. But throughout all of that, the years of struggling, my son's 19 now. I get a text from him. I'm going to read you the text, okay? So I'm going to read you the text. I read this at probably like 9 o'clock this morning. And he sent it, 9 o'clock, 9:02 this morning. I read it. And it says, good morning. I'm at work. I wanted to tell you thank you. I didn't think living in Texas would make me who I am today. Fearless of new things in life, to stand up straight and present myself clean and responsible, rather than stay inside and mope and blame problems on others. Glad to go outside and enjoy the weather. Thank you for the little things I didn't expect to use, for making me become a man, so to speak. Now I see why it was better for me to grow up there than here. I love you, Mom. Talk to you later. That brought tears to my eyes. To know all these times or all these years I questioned if I was doing the right thing. Should I let him go back to his dad? Should I just let him stay there? And I was like, no, I fought him wanting to go back and try to make him feel like this is home, even though he never felt it in his heart. But I taught him how to do his own laundry, how to cook, these things that his dad wouldn't have taught him. So, but like, am I strict? Am I being a bad mom? Should I be doing his laundry? All these things go through your head. And I'm like, maybe I'm just too soft. Maybe I'm too mean. Maybe they hate me, and maybe they just want their dad back, and maybe they just resent me for everything I've done. All those things that I question. And then to get that text to show that what I've done, they appreciate. Or he appreciates. I don't know about my other son yet. But, yeah. So, like, words can't even explain how that makes me feel. And it's like, is it a cry to be like, and I didn't text him back, even though I wanted to be like, you can come home anytime you want, son, your room's still available, yeah. I didn't, because I wanted to be like, you know what, you're your own person, you're becoming who you are. So if you feel like you need to come home, you can. But I did not text that to him. I just simply said, thank you, I'm happy for you, I'm glad I was able to do what I did, even though you didn't have a strong male figure in your life. I tried to be that. So, you know, I told him I miss him, I love him, and, you know, good luck with everything that you do, and I'm always here for you. So, but I did want to be like, does that mean you're coming home? Does that mean you're coming home? You know? But I'll see him soon. I don't know when, maybe in the summer. My son's here, that he probably wants to go back to California. Now he really wants to go back to California, not to see just his dad, but spend time with his brother, because those two were really close and they grew up like inseparable. Everyone thought they were twins, and it's... So anyway, I just had to tell that story because you never know if you're doing the right thing or not. And then to get that reassurance is the greatest thing. So this is my memory to me. Future me, you did a great job. Past self, hang in there. It'll pay off. Okay, that's all I have. Mwah. I'm going to finish my wine now. Bye.